Howdy folks, Kevin here. Let's get started with another live stream. So this is part 3 of 3. I had said that there was going to be 4 parts, but I was wrong. It's going to be 3 parts, and then I'm going to write a blog post kind of summing it up, talking about my experience with Applitools versus using the traditional way of testing. And so, yeah, there's 3 parts to this videos, and that's because there are 3 tasks that we've been working on automating. If you haven't been joined in, we're going to talk about what we're going over today in just a few moments, but I wanted to mention a few items first. As always, I've got my Web App Testing Guidebook available. This is 250 plus pages of examples, real-world examples of how to write automated tests using WebDriver IO. Really proud of this work. It is almost complete. I'm still working on editing to get it finished up, but it is available for purchase today, and it covers the latest in WebDriver IO. That includes version 6. It includes their new assertion library. It includes a whole bunch of new stuff, so that's great. So check that out if you're interested. I'll leave a link in the description. Also, if you want to get in contact with me, there are 2 ways. You can email me on my contact form. You just send your email, your name, email, and your message. Somebody reached out to me last time, and I need to get a response back to them. But I will read your email, and I will get you a response. It takes a little bit of time. But if you're looking for something a little bit more immediate, you can click Get One-on-One Help. And this takes you to my Code Mentor page. Code Mentor is a way to connect mentors with mentees, people who could use a little bit of help. So it isn't free. It is, I've got to pay for my time. So, but I do offer the first 15 minutes for free. So if you are unsure about whether I can answer your question or not, it's not going to cost you anything to do the first 15 minutes and see how that goes. So that's available as well. So I wanted to mention those. Now, close out of that. Double check that my audio is good. It looks good, but you never know, these settings, they get changed for no reason. They just get changed. So things are looking good there though. Well, that's good. So let's get back to our hackathon. If you're watching this on replay, do know that I'm going to try, I can't quite promise it, but I'm going to try to put the chapter markers in so you can kind of move through. I know it's a 2-hour live stream, so it's a little bit lengthy, but hopefully with those chapter markers in, it can help you kind of jump around to where you want to get to. It does take a little bit of time for me, so I don't always get to do it, but I did it for the last stream, and I think it's really helpful. Anyway, what we've been working on is the Applitools Cross-Browser Testing Hackathon. And Applitools, if you're not familiar, they are actually sponsoring this, so shout out to them for helping me make this possible for you to host, to have this free for you to watch. Anyway, they are a visual AI, visual regression testing platform. So it basically will help you do testing on your site using visual testing. So basically it takes a snapshot of the page, compares it to the previous snapshot, and lets you know what, if there are any differences. You can see here they have kind of this example of what it would look like before, trying to get all the text and everything, and then after it's just taking the screenshot, because the screenshot contains all that information. Pretty cool software, and we've been taking a look at it, and we'll take more of a look at it today. Anyway, they have this hackathon that's a challenge. There's an app that we have, and it is 2 different websites. Let's see, it is not that. This website, this is version 2, and this is version 1. Bring that back over. For some reason it was over there. It's the same website, just 2 different versions. One of them has bugs in it. So you see filters is here. One of the big bugs on the previous on version 1. Oh man, if I can go to the phone view, you see how it has this nice little search bar here that pops up. Well, if we go to the new version and we check out our mobile view, see how that bar is there? Now, this is something that wouldn't quite get caught because, well, you can catch it, but it takes a little bit of work because you have to check that this, you have to do an assertion that the search field isn't here. And something's up there, get everything. I thought I had everything laid out and ready to go, but there's always something else. So you'd have to do an assertion here or not there. Yeah, on this input, sorry. You have to do an assertion on that input to make sure that it's not displayed. Whereas with Applitools, you just take a screenshot of it and it will let you know. And it will compare it to the previous one and everything. We've actually done some of those screenshots. Oh, I can close that. Bring up Applitools and go to my dashboard. Let this load. So we've actually done a few tests already. And close out of that. Let's look here. This was the result of task 2. So when we ran our test on our first version, on our working version, our version 1 of the app, you see it's missing everything in pink is a difference between the two screenshots. So what you're looking at here, kind of zoom in. This is version 1 of the app, and this is version 2 of the app. Now you see what we did here is we wrote a test that would filter by the color of the shoe. So we went with we only want black shoes, and you see in version 2 it showed a white shoe, so it caught that, and that's why it's pink here. Also in version 1 it has these nice little action buttons, but in version 2 those are missing. So you would have to write tests for all of this in order to get that in place, and that would take a lot of time, but with Applitools it actually wasn't so bad. So let's take a look at what the Applitools test look like. And we can compare these side by side. So in version 1, in the traditional way, so we have a traditional one which isn't using Applitools, and then the new version which is, we do our filter, we click it, and then we expect the visible products to be a certain size. That's basically checking that there are 2 items in these products. And we do that as well for the tablet view. So we have a laptop view and a tablet view. Now with Applitools, we do some configuration here, and we might see if we have time today of moving this out of the test file so it's a bit cleaner, but we haven't gotten there yet. But we open this Applitools session, and I can uncomment that because it doesn't need to be commented anymore. That was just for testing. Open a session in there. Then we do our toggle click. Since it's on mobile, it has to slide over. The menu has to slide over to show up. And then we do our toggle option, which you see here, and then our click on the filter there. And we did actually 2 different checks on our Applitools call. And one was it the full window, and then the other was the specific region. So if we come back here, this is the full window, and if we go to the next one, you see it's just that product grid region. I kind of like the product grid region by itself, because then you don't have all this extra noise on the page of there and that filter there and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all in Stream 2. So if you want more information on there, go ahead and jump back to that spot. And then also I've got part 1 available as well if you wanted to check out how we got all of this set up. If you're just joining, say hi in chat. I'd love to hear you say hi, or see you say hi. I guess I'm not hearing you say anything. I'm not hearing anything right now besides my kids kind of having fun in the background. I do have a new background. I'm putting up a new wall behind me in my office. It's been long overdue, and hopefully it cuts down on the noise a bit because it was pretty noisy. I have my HVAC system, my air conditioning and heater behind me, and when it turns on, it's pretty loud. So now that I've got a wall there, I'm hoping that it cuts down on a fair amount of that noise. So, yep. that's completely random. But anyway, let's move on to task 3, our product details test. And by the way, if you have any questions, just random WebDriver IO questions or random testing questions, I'm always happy to go through them. It's kind of part of it being a live stream, and why I do this as a live stream is to get questions from you and try and answer them, but I also get stumped sometimes. So it happens. Okay, product details test. So in this task, we're going to click on the first black shoe to navigate to its details page. Then check if everything looks good and accurate. So we're going to start with the traditional approach. There's some notes. Report the test result. Okay. We actually haven't looked at reporters yet. Might get to that if this one goes pretty quick. And then report the test result just like you did for task 1 and append the test results to task 1. So click on the first black shoe to navigate to its detail page. So that would be clicking there. Go ahead and close that. And then we want to assert that this looks good, right? That's what it said. Check if everything looks good and accurate. So we'll probably check that the title is correct. We'll check that, I don't know, that these the description is there. That there's an add to cart button. That's probably important. That there's a small and a quantity that you can change. I think that's pretty good. Let's see what's if they have anything for here. Take a full page screenshot and that's it. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be too difficult of a test considering that we have a lot of stuff already written. So let's go ahead and get to that. Let's jump back to our code. We're going to create a, kind of show you the folder structure. We have our tests, we have modern test, and we have traditional test. We're going to create a new file in this traditional test, and we're going to call it task3.js. And I'm actually going to just copy over my tests from test 2, because we're going to want to do kind of these same actions. The only thing, we're not going to expect that. The next thing we're going to do is let's skip this because we don't want to run that right now, and I'll minimize it so it's not getting in our way. We're going to click the first result, right? Is that what it said? Clicked on the first black shoe, yep. And then I noticed the bug on the site. If you go back and then you can't filter and you can't reset. And if you click there, you still can't filter and you still can't reset. So you have to re-click it and then click filter and it'll go back. And that's on version 1. So that's just a bug. Sorry, I noticed something. Notice how the these little markers come up. They show when you're hovered over it. But here they don't. It's actually a really difficult thing to test for. You have to actually move your mouse over the hover. Or yeah, have your mouse move over the link itself and then do a test to make sure that that works. A little tricky. Activity monitor, why are you still open? So our test, click the first result. So actually let's undo that delete that I did. So we will have a visible products array. And if I go to my home page object, you see that is the grid items. So we're going to use that. And we do that. We're going to do something like 0. And then that's just going to be a grid item. I'm going to inspect this. I'm going to go through this test pretty quick, I think. I'm not going to spend a lot of time making everything perfect because I kind of want to get to that reporter, because there was one part of the hackathon challenge that was you want to custom report the test information. So it'd be nice to take a look at a reporter and see how we can write it. Okay, so we get these items. We have this grid item here. and then another grid item here. So that's what that selector does. I don't think clicking on this item will work. Let's try that out. If I hit escape, I do $0, so that returns that element. Let's see if I click it. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Not that I expected it to. Although the whole thing is a link, but I don't think that that still counts. Let me see. That's interesting. How is that showing as a cursor? Okay, so the grid item does have a cursor pointer on it. But if I click down here, yeah. If I click down here, even though the cursor is showing, it actually wasn't, it doesn't go anywhere. Anyway, I think what we're gonna do is just get this first link in here. There is a link here as well. Let's see. Let's go back to my test. And I feel like turning this into a component wouldn't be terrible. Then we can get kind of the details from the component. I think for the sake of time though, because I do want to get to that reporter, I'm going to skip over that. We already covered components here with like the header. We haven't done them with more dynamic elements. This is just a static element, but I'm going to skip over it unless you, anybody in chat really wants me to do it. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to get whatever link is in there and I'm going to click it. This is not the best code. I don't like having a selector inside of my test. So you probably shouldn't follow my example here, but I do want to just kind of save a little bit of time when writing this. Otherwise, I would basically create a component out of this product grid item, and then I would do something like a product link. And then click it. And then product link would be part of its own component, kind of how here I have my header, and that would be product link, and it would return that kind of stuff. I talk about this in my book, so if you want to go through that, you can look there. But for the sake of time today, I'm just going to skip around that. Okay, so when I click that, it should click that first link actually, so it'll click the image link. And then I'll do some assertions. So let's create a new page. We're going to call it, let's see here, product detail. And I don't think we want to do much in the constructor. We're not going to do any loading right now. We could worry about that. In a real life scenario, we would want to keep the constructor and everything. But again, for the sake of time, I don't want to worry about that. I don't think the filters are on there. I don't see any filters. So we can get rid of that. We'll keep the header because the header is still on there. We don't need the filter search. We don't need the product grid. Don't need visible. So what do we have? We have get the product. We'll just do name. We'll do image. What else do we have? So we've got the name, the image, the description, the skew. So I'll do skew, I'll do description. We do have the review section. I'll skip over it. and let's do the add to cart as well. I'm actually going to skip over a few of these because it's just repetitive, and I don't think that's the most useful to you. Okay. You want to do that. I'll do return there. Copy that over. Actually, let's do that. Just setting up this page object. So once I get this page object, I saw a few items in chat, and I'll check those out in just a minute. Let's see, what do I want to do? Do I want to use the ID here? Yeah, I'll use the ID. Ideally here, there are these data attributes that the devs would put in, like data QA ID, and that would be something like shoe name. I really like that because the problem with using an ID or a class is that somebody can go in, a front-end developer or a back-end developer can go in and change that without realizing that the test relies on it. So if you use this custom data attribute, it's less likely to change because people don't really want to mess with something that they don't know is there, or they don't know why it's there, in theory. Okay, so we have an ID on the shoe image. Let's go with that as well. The Skew, it does have an ID, but I don't trust that ID. There is a class product info. There's also a class, okay, product info. Oh, I see. Oh, that's not great. Ooh. Let's see if we go to another page, how that looks. It's another paragraph as well. I just wonder what happens if there's multiple paragraphs. Do they use another BR? Huh, we could do kind of an Xpath selector here. So check that it begins with it. Let's get to that next, but first we have a question in chat. So Tim says, good morning. Hi, Tim. How's it going? Nice to have you out here in chat. And then Mancy says, cross-browser using Sauce Labs. I kind of set up Sauce Labs. I didn't get it fully set up. And there is a part of the challenge in here is doing this on multiple browsers. And let me see. I'll show you kind of what I had set up in Sauce Labs, just kind of the default WebDriver IO Sauce Labs setup. So you have your user, your key, and your capabilities. And I think I tried running it, and there was something that wasn't quite working, and I was low on time, so I didn't kind of get to it. But if we look at our task 2, we don't use Sauce Labs here. We run this all locally, but we can do it through the Applitools Super Ultra Fast Grid, UFG Ultra Fast Grid. And the way that works, jump back here. I don't have that on there. But basically, the test will run through your local browser. It'll get to the page where you want to take the screenshot. And instead of taking a visual screenshot of the page, it will take a code snapshot. So it'll copy all the HTML, the JavaScript, the CSS. I don't know if it needs the JavaScript at that point. I think it just captures the HTML and the CSS. It sends that over to the Applitools servers. They load that onto their grid of browsers and OS systems. Just that static HTML and CSS, they load it on there. Then they take the visual snapshot and do the comparison. So it's a pretty neat little tool that they have added, and it means that you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about using something like Sauce Labs unless you want to check the functionality in a specific browser, which is a pretty good idea. It does Having to do that does create some overhead in your tests because not all browsers support tests or support automation the same. So in my experience, I usually only test in Chrome because I just don't get to the point where I need to do the cross, or not that I don't need it, but that it's valuable compared to other tasks at hand. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why the ultrafast grid is nice. The other reason is you see we've got a couple steps here. We load the home page, we click on the filter on the left hand side, we click filter, we click the first result, and then we come here. If we have to do that 7 times for 7 different browsers, it gets a bit slow. So one of the differences here is we only do that 1 time for one browser. Then we take the snapshot of the page, we load it on the ultrafast grid, and do the visual snapshots, and then get the report back. So it's a little bit simpler or not simpler. It's just faster to run, and we'll compare speeds. Tim, you say easy to demonstrate why visual testing is more enjoyable to work with. Yeah, because you're not having to like look at, okay, what's this element and what's this element. You basically say, okay, I want to take a snapshot of this section. I don't care what the class names are. None of that really matters. I just need this one section, so I can just put the ID on that one thing or the data attribute on that one thing and take the snapshot. So yeah, it does make it a lot easier. But for now, I kind of want to try and get this Xpath working because it's a fun little challenge. But I also want to, let's go back here. We'll save this. And we're going to do capital product detail. I think because yeah, let's do that. I'll explain why in just a second. So instead of doing a new product detail here, I'm just going to return the class itself, and then we're going to instantiate it in our test itself. So we'll do const product detail equals new product detail. And the reason for that is if we wanted to go directly to this page, it would be nice if we could pass in like the Skew number here or something. You know, here it's a simple static page. I guess there's like an ID. So we could pass in the ID. And if we do ID of 1, it takes you to the first one. So yeah, that'd be nice if we could say new product detail 1. It would know which, or it would take that number and add it here. And in fact, I could do that really quick. Probably going to be a bit faster than me, or it's going to be just as fast as me trying to explain it. Do that. And we'll just do plus the ID. And then when we want to load, so our home page had a load function. We can do browser.url. So then we could do product detail.load over there. So now we create a new product detail page for a specific product. That gets added to our URL. And then we can load that page here. If we had just done this, then we couldn't instantiate it here. So we instantiate. So instead of instantiating or creating the copy of the product detail in our page object where we don't know what the ID is going to be, we leave that off. We wait until later. Yeah, but for now, we'll just leave it like that, and this will be fine. I'll just leave this code in here just for the example, but it's not necessary. So we're going to do product detail, and then we're going to do our assertions. So expect product detail dot name to have text. What will the text be? Oh, and I forgot we hadn't got to the Skew or the description yet. And I think, let me see. I don't know if we need to do to have text or to have text containing. Okay, it looks like we can do just to have text because there's no white space in there. Okay. So that's how our test is going to look when we get to it. But we need to, well, let's just do image now. We'll do image to be visible. Unfortunately, with our test, there's no real way to validate. I mean, I guess we could do, does it have the right URL? But that doesn't help you much. So this is another way where visual testing really helps, because it's going to take a snapshot of that image and compare it to the other ones. And then, like, even, let's see. Yeah, even here, it's the same image and everything, but it's different sizes and all that, and that's on top versus before, I guess. Yeah, I guess that was still on top. It's scrunched down too, and you can't test that as well. So all sorts of reasons why visual testing is really nice. Okay, now we're onto the Skew. And to do that, let's take a look at CSS Xpath cheat sheet. And Xpath has the ability to search by the text. There is a starts with function. So we want to use text, and we want to use starts with the text. Oh, I know there's a way to do this. How do we? Let's see. More examples. Find a parent. Open up that test bed. And then I want to see div contains the class there. So here's an example. That's a substring. So we want something like this, except we want to have starts with. So we'll do, jump back over here. Take a look at that Skew. That's a small, kind of don't want to use the small element. So I'm just going to do any element that starts with the text of Skew. And then we're going to copy over all of that HTML. Let's see if it finds it. Xpath. Oh, shoot. Okay, so I guess we have to use what they have in here. So what do we have? We have large. Evaluate. This is not the best one. 0 elements. And was it starts with? And was it all one word? Yeah, it was starts with. And I wonder if we have to use /. Oops. Okay, I don't like this test bed, and the thing is, we already have one. It's just part of Chrome. You just do Command F on a Mac or Control F on Windows, and you can pass in that. Now we're gonna do SKU. There, so it did find it. So you see it's got the result now. Okay. // doesn't work, // I guess // looks all the way down. So that'll be our selector here. Kind of an interesting selector, but we could get the class of product info. We could narrow it down if we wanted to. do something like this. So we'll get an element with product info, and then we'll find a child element inside of it that has that text in there. That's probably the safer choice out of all of these. And then we'll do the same thing here. Actually, we're not going to do the same thing because Xpath isn't really going to work for that. How do we get the details? Man, this HTML is a pain in the butt to work around. So I can get this class. I guess I can just get the paragraph, but then it has the small text element. So that's going to appear. If I do get text on this paragraph, it's going to have all of it. And really, I just want the description. I want to treat these as separate entities, which they kind of are. If something fails in here, if the skew is missing, then I want to be able to narrow down on that real quick. So that's not the best. Let's see. So I can get the product info. So I have the product info. I guess I'll do, sorry if this is kind of jarring when I switch screens. I'll get the paragraph inside of it. And I think we're going to try something a little bit tricky with WebDriver IO to get just the text. So if I come back here and I'm on there and I hit $0, that's that paragraph. There is a inner text. See how that has the skew? Let me make sure that I'm not in the way. Yeah. See how that has the skew still in there? There's inner HTML. There's text content. Oh, man. Let me see. JavaScript, get text of just the element, not children. Let's see what that is. Sorry, I had to answer something. Get a text of an element without children in the JavaScript. Cool. Let's see if this has the answer. So that's jQuery. Not what we wanted. Ooh, maybe we can go with some Regex. Do not want to use Regex, but we might need to use Regex. What do they do? So they actually just use jQuery. I don't want to use jQuery. There is oh man. So basically, like, I think this keeps going down. Whoops. What am I doing? Man. Inner text. I think what I'm going to do is regex it. So we'll go, nope, not there. Regexer. Wrong place. Sorry, I had a thought of that. This example, it goes down throughout all the child nodes and it finds if it's a text node or some other element. If it is, or only gets the text nodes and then it gets a content from there, that's a little bit too difficult. So what I want to do is we're going to do not a group, we're going to do SKU And I don't think I need that. Then a space. Let's see, what are cheat sheets? Word, digit, or white space? That can be any number of words or white space. What is it? We want one or more, so we want the plus sign. One or more of those. Does that need to be a group? No. I love Regex. Oh, it's a dash. And then it's also going to have a new line character. So I want to capture that new line character as well. So I'll put all of that into a... so I'm trying to figure out how do I get, now that I have that text selected, how do I get rid of it? Match any character that's a word or a dash. Yeah, so that captures the whole thing. I don't know if I do. Yeah, because it's multiple. And then we end with the new line character. I think I'm just gonna capture this. And isn't /n? Yeah, that's a new line. /n or /r. We'll do that. I'm just going to do a switch on this and switch it with an empty string. So that isn't great. And I'll have to do that here. Yeah. I don't like this at all. But, oops. Slash, because that's, no, how do I do, what is it? Okay, it's /. There we go. So that's going to be our regex. So now we'll do our skew. And we'll do to have text. And it's going to be, what's our skew? So one thing you may have noticed with these examples is that they set up these little roadblocks in your way, and I think this is one that they purposefully made it difficult to get this text, because with traditional testing, it's a pain in the butt to try and get just this kind of stuff, to separate these two out. And this isn't something like they weren't being realistic. This is an entirely realistic scenario where this is how the HTML is set up. I've seen websites like this all the time. And the thing is, with visual testing, it really is as simple as, let's take a snapshot of this, and then it's going to compare, and it's going to compare that text content for you. And so it's like, it already checks all that for you without having to do anything special. So yeah, I think that they purposely did this, but we're going to play along. Trimmed text is equal to, we're going to get the description, product detail dot description dot get text. Then we're going to do a switch in here, and switch, if you're unfamiliar, let's see, Skew regex is equal to that. I'll talk about what switch does. I think maybe it's not switch. I think it's replace. I'll show you what replace does real quick. So say we have a string, we can run replace on it, and we search for the T, and we're going to replace it with P. And now we go from string to Spring. That's what replace does. You can also do the same thing using a regex. So that's regex. It starts with the slashes. That's regex. This is the best regex I've ever seen. But yeah, that's what it's going to do. So what we're going to do in our test is we're going to take that Skew regex that we have and replace it with nothing, basically nothing. So it just strips it out. And I'm not going to call that trim text. I'm going to call that striped text. So then we'll do our assertion. And it's not going to be to have text. It's just going to be a to equal. And really, I don't think I want to do to equal, because I don't want to have the full thing in there. I'll just do that it starts with these boots are comfortable. And then we can kind of assume that the rest of it's in there. Yeah. And I need to get to the assertion documentation for ExpectJS. So I'll come back over here. I'll go to the Jest Matchers page. And actually, I'll look at the full API doc. And in here, there's got to be something about, there's to contain, string containing. I want something like starts with text. Just string starts with. There's to contain. I don't want that. To start with. New matcher. Right? It's closed, so it wasn't merged in. Okay, that one was merged in though. That's under the Jest extended though. So yeah, we'd have to install Jest extended. I don't want to do that because there's another option, which is we can just do starts with, and this is not the best. I'm doing a lot of bad code. Sorry, don't take this too much to heart. That's the word. So we're going to expect our stripped text to start with, and starts with is a JavaScript, newer JavaScript feature that is available in browsers. So we can do string starts with, and then we can check that it starts with st, and if we do /sp, it's false. But if we were to copy that and do our replace and then do that, it's true again, because it's not. Oh man, let's get some size here. There. So it starts with string, we replace the T with a P, and then we check the starts with, and so now it's false. So starts with just checks that a string starts with something. So that's what we're gonna do here. And the reason I don't like this a lot is because if this fails, it's gonna say expected false to equal true, which isn't very helpful, but whatever. Got a question from Paul. Kevin, great job, thank you. I really struggle with stuff like this, so good to see you working through it. Yeah, I think that's a lot of why I'm doing this, is because it really is so helpful to see people just go through all the nitty gritty of writing tests, and not these very polished, perfect examples out there. No, you want to see some nasty examples where you have to write regex because the HTML is just a little bit different and stuff like that. So yeah, glad to have you out here. Thanks for saying hi in chat, and glad you find it helpful. Last thing we're going to check is that the add to button basically is going to be to be existing. We could do to be displayed, but the problem is on a smaller screen, it won't be displayed in the viewport. Or sorry, we could do to be visible. On a smaller screen, it's not going to be visible in the viewport, and so that would fail. So I'm just going to go with to be existing. Actually, you know what? I think it won't fail. I think if I do just to be visible, I think it should be fine. Should be fine. Okay, so we've got a basic test here. I could keep going on, but I think you get the point. We could test here, we could test that, we could test the drop down, write all those tests. We could test the reviews as well. Let's save our time there. So let's jump over to our terminal. Whoops, not there. We're gonna go to the Applitools Applitools Hackathon. There we go. We're going to go npxwdio, and we're going to say our spec is going to be called task3.js. Before we do that, we make sure we've saved everything. That's fine. That's good. That's good. Let's run this there. Product detail is not defined. What? Oh, I have to import it. You know, the things coding makes you do. Okay, so there it did that. Cool. So that was the laptop view. Now I want to see, is this any different on the mobile view? It doesn't look like it. Same thing on tablet. Yeah, that looks all the same. So I can, yeah, you know, here's what I'm gonna do. I want our new function. It's going to be get product details. I don't really have to write this, but I kind of want to show you why I do this. So return talk through this in just a minute. Okay, so we're going to get the name is going to be this dot name. So that's going to reference here. And then we're going to get the text from it. Oh, there. And then what do we want? The image. I'm going to skip over the image. We'll do the skew. And that's going to be... I mean, we could do the same thing to get rid of the skew. But we won't. We'll just do that. Then our description is going to be our striped text. Okay, so we're going to do that. It's pretty basic, but what it allows us to do is kind of simplify our page a little bit. So now we'll do product detail.name. We'll do to equal. We'll do the same thing with the skew. We'll leave this as is. And then we'll do product detail, whoops, dot description. starts with, and we'll leave that there to equal true. And again, it's not the best, but, and this just cleans this up just the tiniest bit and moves it over here. And the reason we want to do that, and I just noticed I didn't do that right, so this will be product detail page. Should yeah. Now we'll copy that over. And we can come down here and check the tablet view, which is going to be pretty much the same. The only thing we have to do is have that filter toggle up there. Whoops. Yeah. So now we don't have that same regex down here as well. It's over here in the product details, and that same strip text is also not repeated in there. That's pretty good. There's a lot of duplication in here, and I'm wondering if I can get rid of that. But first, let's run this test one more time and just double check that the tablet view works. And then I'm going to see if I can kind of reduce some of this duplication. So this is normal view, and it's having trouble. Why is it having trouble? Can't click on element with selector filters because it wasn't found. What was that in? That was in the tablet view. Oh, because this is the main before. So what we do want to do is we want to do before each. Yeah. So before each, we're going to load the page. So what happened was it ran the first test and it passed. Then it tried to click the filter again before each. You know what I'll do? This before runs first. So what I can do, I can actually take all of this out, copy that up here, and so it's going to load the page using the default window size, which is large enough to not need to do that toggle. Then it's going to resize the browser and do our checks. And then I can also move this up here. Actually, let's just move it all the way up here. That way it's available for everything. Okay, that reduces the duplication in our code a fair amount. We don't want to move the product details up here because we want to resize it before getting all of this stuff. So what you'll see is it will load the page, go to the product details page, then it should have resized it. They both failed. Expected received to equal expected. So expected that, received undefined. Did I not get that right? Oh, it's just details. Whoops. Run that again. Got the text. What you doing now? Whoops. Okay, expected visible to be not visible. No, expected it to be visible, but it was not visible. And that was for both of them. Laptop should show the right product. Now the question is where. It doesn't give the element name. So it expected the image to be visible. Why was it not visible? I mean, this passed just a minute ago. Details image. That's the shoe image. Oh, huh. I didn't need to replace that one. And the same thing with this. That's what I did wrong. So I get the details, and let me move that together. I get the product details, I assert those, and then I check the product detail page. So the product details come from here, the product detail page stuff comes from there. So let's copy this back over. And one thing we can do is we could actually move this into a function, and we'll call this like run assertions. And we could actually move this entire thing in here. And then the only thing our test does is run the assertions. And I'll do that just for an example. It's there are times when you wouldn't want to do this. Having this out here can be a little bit of trouble if there's anything you have defined in here. Say this product detail was like did something like this, and then we did like a like that for some reason. This product detail is scoped to this function, so it wouldn't be available in our assertions, so we'd have to work around that. So that's something that we'd have to pay attention to, but I do want to show that you can kind of just have it exactly like that. Now we've reduced the duplication of our code even more, but we did make it a little bit more complicated for somebody who's not familiar with how functions work and stuff like that, or they might not know what run assertions is, and they might have skipped it at the top of their file. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it in there just for the fun of it, and let's hope that this works now. Okay, that one passed, and I guess I forgot to do that, so I'll run this one more time, and then we'll take a look at the Applitools version of this, which should go a lot quicker. It's been going quicker every single time that I've done it. So now we've got our product, both tests passing. We can add a mobile view here as well, which is part of the challenge, is to add a mobile view. But honestly, I don't see it being any different. Whoops, wrong one. It really isn't any different. All the content is still there. So there's nothing to check. Really, there. Okay. That's task one, or not task one. That is the traditional approach. Now, let's take a look at the modern approach. Take a full page screenshot, and that's it. Set the task name, create bug regions, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to jump over to task 2. And one thing that we've been doing in all of our modern tests is we've been copying and pasting this code again and again, and it's kind of annoying. I don't really want to have this here again, but I think what I'm going to do for now, all I'm going to do is create this basic task file. And then we can go from there. We can look about moving all this stuff over if we want to later. Set batch, that stays the same. The test name is changed to 3. That stays the same. This gets moved here. And really, we're going to let's do that. We'll have the home load after. That closes things, and then we'll do our assertions. Actually, we're not doing those assertions. What am I talking about? Take that out. And we'll do our assertion to be. I can't remember if this worked or not. I don't think it did. Yeah, we had to do it like that. We'll do our region, and what are we going to check here? There's a question, am I leaving the run assertions in the spec file instead of moving it to the page object so it's more readable? That's actually a preference that I'm pretty strongly behind of assertions shouldn't ever go in your page object. It's my personal belief, but I don't like having assertions in my page object because it kind of mixes what each thing should be. The page object here should just be describing what's on the page. It shouldn't be describing whether something should be there or not. So I keep the assertions in my test because that's what the test is for. It's for testing things. Yeah, that's why I do it. If, say you wanted to say, you wanted to check and see if this image is there, I would do something like image this dot $image dot is visible. I would return the Boolean or the true false from there, and then in my test I would do details dot image to be true. So the assertion is still here, but you get that information from the page object itself. Yeah, that's why I leave it like that. And I had moved my assertions way back, maybe a year ago. I was adding assertions to my page object, and it just didn't feel right to me, and so I didn't want to keep going with it. Plus, if you have like your these details change for whatever reason, the actual text change it, you have to move it to your page object and that kind of stuff. So, yep, that's a great question. Okay, now, we were looking at what we want to take screenshots of. Oh, and you know what? While we wait, or while we look at that, I'm gonna run this test on on version 2 of the website. And you know what? I think I'm gonna have to let that run because it's not headless. If I try clicking on something and then the browser pops up right as I click, it would be trouble. That one seemed to have worked fine. Oh, it moved over to my other screen. Oh shoot. This is running the Applitools test, which we're not ready for yet. It's because I had it set to task 3 and then I just saved it. So I didn't specify that it should only run on traditional test version 1 and not, sorry, on the traditional test, I didn't specify that it should only run in traditional test. So it also did it in modern test. The reason why it was only running in traditional test is that I had I only had that file. I hadn't created this file yet, but by ID product grid. I don't think there is a product grid on there, so I don't know what it took a screenshot of. But let's do a screenshot of maybe the main content. Yeah, that's about all the content I want. Gonna do the same thing here. By there's the page. How do I do that selector? Oh, take a full page screenshot. Okay. Well, that's easy enough. So I'll just do that. Okay. So now we have all of that in place. It looks like it ran fine last time. So I want to run the first version, and then I'll do modern test v1 task 3. Run that. And all of these videos are available for replay. If you missed the first 2 parts, they are already up and you can check them out. I do have chapters for the second part. I didn't get them for the first part, but option not found. It's done this before. Best option is just to run it again, I think. I don't know why it did that. Same thing. Oh, I know why. Because I need to show the menu. That's what I need to do. Because it resizes the screen or the browser at that point. And so we need to click it first. Try that again. There we go. So it's resized. There we go. Now you see I think it's copying all the HTML and the CSS on the page over. And since there is a fair number of it, it has to it's a fairly complex page. It has to do that. Now it's running it on its grid. There we go. So it says it passed. Let's go to our dashboard, refresh that. And why does it still say task 2? I thought I renamed it. Oh, I did not rename it. Task 3, darn. Oh well. So these are all our different devices. Now we click the page. Oh, and because the task wasn't named, let's delete those. We don't need them. And we'll run it one more time. And then I think I do want to check out this, because what I want to do is compare how long it takes to run between using something like Sauce Labs and using something like the ultra fast grid. Because if you're running it locally, you know, you're losing. If you're running it locally without any of the visual regression, it is quicker, but you're also not doing any screenshots. You're not doing any visual regression testing. And you're also not testing on all these different browsers. So that's the big question. So now we have to, in order to test on all those different browsers, you need to use a solution like Sauce Labs. So that's where that real comparison comes in. Now we're going to refresh. There's task 3, and it says it passed. Well, that's because everything is new, but we can just double check. Okay, so that looks good. We have our full page, and now we're going to go to run this on version 2 of the site, which again, there's version 1 and then version 2. It's just a different It's supposedly the upgraded site. It's rewritten or whatever. That's what they say. That's kind of the storyline behind it. Okay, now it's running again, and this passed in our original test. Let's see if there's anything different that it didn't catch, that our traditional test didn't catch. It is going to catch some things like up here. That certainly looks different in version 2. I don't know. We'll see. The seasons are changing up here. It's starting to get colder, which I'm not super excited about. I like the heat. Makes me happy. But, okay, so it is unresolved. We do have some issues. Let's see what those issues are. Let's zoom in. So, oh, look at that. The text was wrong. If we look, that says 4 reviews, but we come back over here. Oh, so see, this is something that visual regression testing specifically would catch, that it wouldn't, you can't test this without visual regression testing. You have to use visual regression testing because you can get the content and the content is there. The text is there. It's just fine, but it's obviously not fine like that. What was their other one? So there's small versus not small. Nice. Yeah, so see here, it stays aligned, but there it doesn't. Same thing here. So this is small versus not small. So that was a little thing they threw in there. What else do they do? The price. So it's missing the color on the price. That is yet another thing that you like. See how it's gray? And then that's not gray, and it's also doesn't have a strike through. How would you test that using the traditional approach? I don't know. Because you would have to check the CSS specifically to look, does that CSS have the text decoration of line through? And let me tell you, that's not fun to be adding to your tests. It's just not fun at all. Same thing with color. Like now you have your CSS tied to your test, and say that color changes from 999 to 998. You know, you're not going to visually see that. But in your test, now you're going to have to change that, and it's such a pain. So this is really where the visual regression testing comes in and really shines. So we would mark those as bugs. We'd say that that's not good, that it fails. Let's see how it looks here. If we have anything else. Again, the spacing is different. Yeah. Oh. Here on tablet view, the button. So that's a definite failure. Oh, the skew is missing on tablet view. That's interesting. Why didn't... Yeah, that skew is completely missing. Oh. But it passed in our test, in our traditional test, even though it checked the skew. Where is it? Product details. We got the text with the skew. We used get text. We did the right size. Let me see something. I'm going to debug here. We're going to change that back to traditional tests. I'll set debug equals true. And this debug and version, those are parts of my configuration file up here. I just changed the URL and then I set the timeout to a longer amount. Okay. So it's not visible right there, but I can still get the text of it. Yep, see how that text still returns? But if I were to do is visible, is displayed? True. Why is it saying it's true? Oh, that's why. Because it's a color of white. So if I turn that on, so that's a little tricky bit. That's really difficult to catch. That, wow. Basically, it's still there. Yeah, you can see it's still there. So if even if I had added is displayed or to be visible a check on there, it still wouldn't have caught it because it doesn't know. Like it's still there. It's not hidden using like display none or visibility hidden or opacity 0. It's just that it's white text on a white background. And again, they do this. They knew what they were doing when they wrote this hackathon. They knew what gets caught and what doesn't by visual regression testing versus plain regression testing. Yeah, you see that's broken there as well up top. And then this is another thing. How do you check that? Like, how do you check that the button isn't in the right place using traditional testing? I don't know. And let me tell you, these errors do happen. Maybe you're not going to do a color white, but actually I've seen that before. This sort of thing where it's bunched over, that definitely happens a lot. Yeah, so let's look at this last one, see if there was anything. No, man, I don't want that. That's good up there. The small versus the not small. That you could test, you could check with traditional testing, you could, but it's not as likely. Let's see, what? Oh, the dollars is missing the cents on there. So that's another thing. Like, you could check that. Yeah, it's just going to be so much like little bits here and there. And then what happens if, I don't know. Yeah, there's just so many levels that you have to spend so much time writing all these checks compared to just taking a screenshot of the page. And the problem with taking just a screenshot of the page is you get false errors. But with Applitools, they have these regions, and I mentioned them last time, that you can kind of help with a lot of those false errors, and it really helps with that. So how do we create a bug region? Let's see. They were mentioning bug regions. So if I say no, add a remark. Oh, add a region indicating a bug or an issue. Oh, I don't have the right plan for it. Nope. So basically you would just say, hey, this is a bug, and then send it out there. Yeah, that is quite impressive. So that's our other test. Now, what do I want to spend my time on now? I want to run these in Sauce Labs. So that way I can kind of compare the timing of it. We'll close that and that and that. And then there is a Sauce Labs platform. Come on, type. And we need to test in 6 different browsers. Do WebDriver, we're going to do it on PC, Windows 10. We already have Microsoft Edge. Let's do Chrome on the latest. And we'll jump back in here. So we've got Edge. We want to do Chrome. Let's see, they had them listed out. Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. So we'll change this to Firefox. We'll do the latest. What? What? That was weird. These sauce options we don't really need. I don't think we need them. And then we wanted an emulator. We wanted, shoot. Man, we'd have to write, in order to test this on a mobile phone, mobile portrait using the latest Chrome for traditional. To do that, we'd have to hook up Appium to actually do it on an actual phone. Oh, that's so difficult. Just thinking about that would have to be another configuration file, because you can't really mix Appium. I don't know. Let's see. iPhone X, latest, web testing node. Maybe. I wanted it on Chrome though. Mobile portrait, use the latest Chrome for traditional. Use iPhone X and portrait for ultra fast grid. Latest Chrome for traditional. Oh, I guess. Yeah. I guess it would just be the same way that we've already been doing it, which is just run them on the different screen sizes. Okay, let's just go with that. And now my username and my access key. Let me check something, because I've got like 5 different Sauce Labs accounts, and I'm not sure which one I have signed in. I've got some company ones that I do contracting with, and I'd rather not give away all their trade secrets with you. I feel like that would not make them happy. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to go there. Okay. So then I come back here. So bear with me for 1 minute while I check something out. That's a bit sensitive. Okay. There. I do think I have it all set up, so I can come back here. Let's try running this again. I'm going to do my npx wdio. We'll do not the modern, we'll do the traditional. Traditional, how do you spell? Task 3. And then the other thing we want to do is run it through my sauce configuration. And let's see, that starts 3 different sessions. And hopefully the sessions actually start up. It looks like they are starting up. There's my 3 sessions. We'll go to the Firefox session. There's a problem with my test. Sauce VM failed to start the browser or device. That's great. Yeah, what? Why? Am I over my usage? What's going on there? I'll just close that down. You're specifying Selenium version that isn't compatible. What? I'm not specifying any Selenium version, am I? And if I go to my configuration file here, runner's local, all that's set up. Yeah, there's nothing special here. I don't think so. All the same. Oh boy. How to resolve. You can use it by choosing a new version of Selenium or Appium for your test or leaving the version blank to do. Yeah. Incompatible. Well, I guess we can. Did that fail on all of them or just? Okay, so it did pass on Chrome. That's good. There was an error on Firefox and IE failed. Or Edge. So Edge actually does load up. That's good. And what, it just sits here? Doing nothing? Okay, so I'm gonna move that we're gonna go back here. We're gonna do Mac instead of Windows, and we're gonna try running on there. So the only thing I really need to change is here to be Mac. And we'll leave that the same. And under my services, I do have Chrome driver in here. Let me double check that it's like not trying to run Chrome driver. And I'm gonna do log level of silent. Ah, shoot. Okay, so it does have the right service in there. That's good. Now it's running on the 3. And let me real quick go over to the WebDriver.io homepage and double check that I'm doing the sauce service correctly. Then also, I think I'm gonna go have to use the potty. Can update dependencies. That's all good. I might need to say the region. Let's go ahead and add that. Oh, I do have the region in there. That's all good. Starting inspector. Why is... Oh, shoot. It timed out. Okay, so I still have the browser debug in there. I had thought that I did, but I forgot that I did. Forgot to check for that. So I'm going to run this, and I am going to go use the bathroom. If you don't mind, I had a lot of tea, and now I'm regretting it. So while I'm back. I know you missed me. Oh, it's still running? Firefox is still running. Failed to create the session. Sauce VMs failed to start the browser or device. And that's in Firefox. I think, yeah, because it passed in Chrome, passed in Edge. Didn't pass in Firefox. What in the world? I usually never have issues with Sauce Labs. It usually runs really well. Did I forget to save? No, it's in there. Platform name, Mac OS X 1015. Why did that not work? See that? Oh, man. Why did it do that? This should not be Windows 7. Why is it on Windows 7? Platform configurator. We already have that. Well, let's go there. Try it again. So WebDriver on Mac, Catalina, Firefox, 80, Node.js. Is that not what I did? I did this, right? It's right here. All of that is right there. Browser name, all of that, all of it. So good. All right, I'm gonna try running this one more time. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But you see here, it takes 2 minutes to run the test. And I believe it was when we ran through ultrafast grid, it took 40 seconds, I believe. So running it locally is the fastest, but you're also not actually testing on all the different devices or on all the different platforms. So it doesn't really compare. The ultrafast grid is at least twice as fast because this doesn't even, well, yeah, I wonder with Firefox failing if that's impacting it. Okay, it probably is. Let's jump back into here. And again, it's starting on Windows. Why is it starting on Windows? Oh, that's not good. What am I doing wrong? What if I do Chrome latest? Is it just ignoring the platform name? Is it not? There are boilerplate projects in here. Let's see if they have a Sauce Labs boilerplate. Do. Okay. Jasmine. Okay, let's see what we have here. They have Firefox, platform name, browser name, sauce options. They do have a Selenium version. Maybe they need that. Because I think I do need that. Let's see. We want not IE Edge, and we want it to be the latest. That's good. That's good. That's good. Let's try that. Whew. Man, running tests is just so much fun when you just sit there and sit there and sit there. Okay, so this has the right platform. That's good. This has the right, I guess, the right platform name. That passed. There we go. So one of them has passed. It is actually running, which is what I was hoping for. Okay, and it passed in Firefox. So we do have to have that Selenium version in there for whatever reason. But we did get them all to pass, and that was in the tablet view. So actually, if we're really going to compare these, we need to do not that. We need to do this, and then we also need to have the where is it? The mobile view as well, and that was from part 1 of all of this. Same thing with how we got these viewports and everything. That's all in part 1. So if you want to watch that, go back there. That's all set up. But if I go to my tests, yeah, so that takes 32 seconds, but it didn't run all the tests. So I'm going to run this one more time. I guess I can get rid of that log, that console log here. Not really needed. And you know, this says that it took 32 seconds. I feel like it took longer than that. Don't you feel like it took longer than that? Because maybe I'm just not used to it sitting here for so long. Okay, there's Chrome. Firefox should be finishing up soon. There we go. See, it still says it took 32 seconds, but I'm not believing that. We do have the start. I feel like it doesn't include the time that it takes to actually log into Sauce Labs. 19, 26, 32, 32, 21, 30. Yeah. The other thing is that I've got this running through, where is it? How many different instances? 3 instances. So I'm running these 3 at a time. And if I had bumped that to 1, it's certainly going to take a longer amount of time. But let's go back here and run that. I just want to see how long it takes. Oh, great. Out of date Chrome driver. That happens so often. My Chrome driver is out of date. So now it's sitting there. It's sending all that data over to Applitools, and it's running. So the reason it took 2 minutes for the first Sauce Labs to test is because it was waiting to fail. So it only took 30 seconds. Yeah. So the speed between the two, you know, that says 32 seconds. I just don't know about that, because I feel like we're waiting for these tests to start for a little bit of time. Like maybe it's only 30 seconds. They're pretty comparable time-wise. I was kind of expecting Sauce Labs to take a little bit longer, but it didn't really. See, this one test does take longer. If you do have a limit on the max instances, then this is definitely going to have a bigger impact for you. This is going to take 16 seconds plus 13 seconds plus 13 seconds. So that's going to take like a minute. So twice as fast or twice as long if you're not able to have them in parallel. So anyway, that's how it goes from a speed perspective. That is that. Let's kind of look at finishing up here. Now there's a what to submit, and we're not submitting this. The hackathon has already come and passed, or come and gone. So we don't really need to. We're not submitting this for anything. This is kind of just for fun, and just to kind of look through it ourselves. So one thing that they had though are the test results, And let's see, I have been going at this for about 2 hours now. Not really sure that I want to get into reporting, because that is can be kind of gnarly, but maybe we can take a quick look at it. We would submit that kind of stuff. We missed the deadline. Just reading. See, it wanted us to create 2 folders. We never had to create those 2 folders because our selectors were fine. I'm better than that. They couldn't stop me on that part. They stopped me on other parts, but not that part. Yep. Okay, readme, just details about it, execute. So I guess we have just enough time. Let's see what they, let's see. What to submit, getting started. Tools not open, incompatibility, main Applitools, concepts. No, we don't want that. Where did it talk about? It talked about a report somewhere. Test frameworks. No. What to submit? There's that. Sorry, trying to figure out what that report was supposed to look like. Notes for traditional approach. Okay, this is where the report is. Hard to analyze test results because you're running the same tests across. To analyze, you need to print a formal report. Once you test the application, print a report as shown for each element or test that you test as part of the task. Every line should show the result for one element or test. Okay. Test, the task name, the test name, the DOM ID, the browser, the viewport, the device, and the status. I don't think we're going to do that part. Let's see, where do they get the DOM ID from? Hackathon reporter. Oh, they actually have an assertion that builds that out, passing that in. Not crazy about that. Yeah, thinking about this and actually writing a custom reporter, I kind of don't want to. Kind of too lazy for it. I don't know. What do you think? If anybody in chat really wants to see it, say it and maybe I'll take a look at it. But one, like, I'm unfamiliar with doing this. On screenshot, on test pass, on test fail. That's just writing out. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it. Nobody in chat has said anything, so I'm going to walk away from that. And, you know, I think that's good enough. I think that's good enough. You know, I've been at this for an hour, over almost 2 hours, and I got all the tests done. I don't think there's anything else to do. I'm just trying to make sure that everything is kind of wrapped up. Support, nothing there. I don't need to troubleshoot. Yeah, that's Applitools. That is how to run the tests through all of them. I guess I could do, I could run all 3 of the tasks, because I wrote 3 different tasks. Task 1, which was just to check. Task 2 is a little bit more complicated, and task 3. I could run all of them through Sauce Labs, but that's just going to be sitting around and waiting for them to run and then looking at the times. I don't really want to put you through that. So that's that. This is going to wrap up this series. I will be writing a blog post comparing the traditional approach with the Applitools approach and kind of talking about the differences between the two and what I think about them. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of Applitools. Again, they do sponsor this. They are sponsoring this content, so keep that in mind. But I've been a fan of them for a long time, and the main reason, and I mentioned this last time, it's not just visual regression testing, because I wrote a blog post called "Visual Regression Testing is Stupid," but it doesn't have to be. And I'm gonna post that in chat. Basically, a lot of ways that you can get tripped up. So it's really easy on the outside, but once you actually get into it, it is a lot more difficult. So that's why I like Applitools, because it takes care of the parts where it gets really difficult. The things where the content changes on the page, but it's not really a bug. That's a difficult issue with visual regression testing. Applitools has kind of solved that. Having a dashboard here that I can look through visual screenshots and not have to just go to open like a folder and try and do it there. That makes it so much easier to build it into your workflow as a team. So that's really awesome. You know, one thing I didn't do here is I didn't get the results back from the check. And that is one thing that's missing. So I'm not going to cover it here because I'm out of time and I'm not really sure how to. I'd have to get into it a little bit more. One thing, this target by region, I would like this to be a WebDriver IO selector. One of the issues is if I go back here in task 2, see task 2 here, I have this and I have to pass in the selector here, and I would much rather pass in the page object reference to get to it. So that's one thing that I need to learn more about. Paul has a question: have I tried other visual testing tools? I have tried the WebDriver IO. It has their own visual regression testing service. It's pretty nice, but it has those issues where it's not smart enough, and so you have to. It takes a lot of legwork to keep it up to date, and you don't have a nice dashboard and all that kind of stuff. There is this thing called Novus, which I haven't heard of before. I don't know what this is. It looks like an older version of there used to be another visual regression testing framework out there that was for version 4, 5 or 4. Yeah. So this used to be there, but when they upgraded WebDriver IO, it didn't work with a new version. So it looks like this is kind of an update for that. So we actually have 2 different ones. I like the main one versus this one. It's a little bit cleaner, I think. This is just a little bit cleaner than that other one. There is also a Percy.io is another visual regression testing service that I haven't spent as much time looking at, but I think if you want to compare them, definitely add them to your list of items, because they've been working on this for a long time. They're not just some newcomer to the scene who's trying to capitalize on visual regression testing as a fad. They've been working on this for a long time, so they've put a lot of work into it, and yeah, I would say check them out. And they all are also part of Browser Stack, but I think you have to have some sort of beta trial with Browser Stack to get that integrated. So yeah, there is a website that that I'm part of that they are worth checking out. They're out there. VizWiz, I think, is a new one that got added, and you can always add more via GitHub. That's visualregressiontesting.com. Yeah, so that's that. So overall, I think this was really fun, and I really appreciate Applitools for sponsoring this. If you want to check out this yourself, you can go to that URL. Just know that it's closed down. Paul, thanks for hanging out in chat. I really appreciate your comments and your questions and everything. So anybody else who's stuck around, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that's going to end it. I had a lot of fun with this, and I really, again, like I said, I appreciate Applitools helping sponsor this. I'm going to have a blog post on this within the next week, in a week or so. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be live streaming next week or not. There's a good chance that I'm not, but I'll probably be back on here sometime. So, yeah, until next time, have fun testing.